So a guy at Sports Illustrated wrote an article saying that sources close to Triple H had revealed spoilers to him for WrestleMania, and that basically the plans were not to have Cody finish the story this year, and that the plan was to have him go against CM Punk and Gunther to be against Seth Rollins, and everyone was just laughing because they were like, okay, well, first of all, people's initial reactions were like, okay, this is messed up. Like, no one, like, even though those matches both would be great, like, that doesn't make sense. But then they're also coming for the guy because it was like you watch one episode of Raw and then decide like this is what's going to happen at Mania. So that's been kind of like cooking over the last few days, but he put out a retraction today. So that's why I think it's a rosebud, because this is like the first time I feel like I've ever seen something like this where um a lot of people, no matter what they're covering, if they do something wrong or they report false information, they don't come out and kind of like walk with their, the tail between their legs. Like they don't admit that they had false information told to them. Like, so I liked that he owned up to the fact that someone that he thought was a reliable source was not, and seemed to have fed him wrong information, and apologize for publishing that information. So I thought that was cool because, especially in the wrestling sphere of things, there's a lot of people out there who claim to be insiders, and they'll just put things out there and claim, well, a source told me. And if it ends up being wrong, they don't even address it. They just like move on and like start saying the next thing that they're claiming is a spoiler. So I thought it was nice because that article was being talked about a lot. Like, it even got sent to me today by somebody who I talk wrestling with sometimes, and he was like, "Do you think this is true?" I'm like, "No."
Not a
No.
chance. I texted you
No.
immediately when I saw the news, and I'm like, "There's no way, right?" Because we literally talked about it. Go check it out in the archive. Shameless plug. That it legitimately felt like someone, as you just said, watch Raw and then put on this massive lie that they are more inside sources to Triple H and whatnot. It
Yeah.
was so wild because it makes no sense. It made no sense. They don't think of the bigger picture of it.
Well, what I was more confused about, I guess, even with his retraction, is that he said that it had been like a reliable source in the past. And so I'm like, okay, is that true? Or is it not true? Like, are you just trying to save your own ass,
They think you're
basically,
trying
by
to save
saying
their own
that?
ass.
Because it's like, what else have they told you? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to tell us, but it's like, what else has he told you, and when was it right? Because why all of a sudden do you claim to have a source close to Triple H who has always told you the correct information, and now he's telling you, like, purposely telling you incorrect stuff? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I wonder if it's like he doesn't actually have legitimate sources and he's just trying to cover it by claiming he did, and that they just fed him the wrong stuff, because that just seems weird. Like, why would somebody do that to you for no reason? That just seems weird.
Also, Sports Illustrated just laid off their entire staff too.
I know, but then there's like other branches of Sports Illustrated.
That's
So
what I thought. See, I was thinking about that. I was like, because they just laid off their whole staff. It was a whole thing on Twitter, it's X, whatever. And then the next day, they're reporting this. It just felt very strange. That was
yeah,
another reason why I'm like, there's no shot.
yeah.
This wasn't ESPN. This wasn't our guy, our SRS. Like,
Well, and I immediately thought, because they had been outed for using AI to write articles. And I'm like, this sounds like an AI written article. Like, the guy put in the results from Raw, and then the article was written and said, oh, according to sources, this is what's going to happen. And it was basically just taking what happened on Raw and saying it was happening on Mania. I was like, if anything was going to be written by AI, it seems like it was that. So
that article is 100% it.